I'm with Councillor Matt Brown, who is the lead candidate on the We Love Kiama, Gerringong and Jamberoo ticket. And we've got some questions to go through, Matt, so that you can speak to the electorate. So first of all, could you tell us about yourself and some background of your involvement in the Kiama community and why you are standing for election as our representative on council?
Thanks, Mark, and great to be here. And yes, well, firstly, I'm standing because I think there's some unfinished work for me to do on council. I know and love this area, and I'm looking forward to continuing that work. But for those who don't know me, I'm a very long time local. I grew up here, been to all three schools, back to the infant school when it was an infant school, primary school, high school. I was captain of Kiama High, and back in the day I was actually the Australia Day Young Citizen of the Year, back when I was young. Anyway, I had a number of jobs locally here, but my first full-time job was actually working for Kiama Council as the head lifeguard at Surf Beach. It was my first full-time job. I was a musician at the Roo Theatre, playing in musicals such as Quarry, which was written by locals here. This is the first place that I actually fell in love and had my first kid here, and he's 24 now. Raised him here and now raising my second child here. In fact, she caught an amazing wave at Nippers here just last weekend. I was the local MP here and did a lot of things down here, so I have a good understanding of the area. You know, we upgraded the high school, North Kiama bypass, all that amazing work around the Gerringong interchange, the sewer for Gerringong, Bonaira and Jamberoo. So a lot of those planning issues are very dear to my heart. Did some further education here, have a Bachelor of Maths, an Honours degree in Law and an MBA. Yeah, educated here and did a lot of work here as a local person. And so I think with that education, with that experience, with that love and passion for the area, I think I've got a lot to offer and contribute to the area as a candidate.
Thanks, Matt. One of the biggest issues for the Kiama local government area is the tension between urban development and economic growth versus the preservation of green space and the character and heritage of Kiama. Where do you think the balance should be struck on this issue?
Well, this is a fantastic question because I think balance is the key word, and trying to get that balance right is the challenge of any person in council or any person in public office. And I don't think there's a magic bullet or a silver bullet to that question. It's really understanding this area, it's understanding the laws, what you can and you can't do in this role, and trying to get that balance right. So I, as Chair of Destination Kiama, really try and work on getting that balance right. So working on getting that economic growth through tourism is something that I and the board work towards. So for example, we are not trying to get heaps and heaps of tourists in here. That used to be the goal of tourism. What we're trying to do is, in a way, get fewer tourists here, but those who spend more money. So what we don't want to do is put a lot of pressure on Kiama through bins and rubbish and pressure on our public toilets, but actually have tourists that come in here spending a good amount of money so we get good quality investments. Things like the Misada, Little Betty's, proper establishments, not just fish and chip shops and ice creameries. We know people want to come down here for fish and chips and ice creams, but we also want to have, good quality investments as well. So it is about getting that balance. We are looking at a whole bunch of ranges of issues, whether it be urban infill or expanding through the hills. Obviously our current policy is urban infill, and that's one that I particularly support, because as Chair of Destination Kiama, we want to make sure that we preserve what's really, really important here, and that is our rolling hills, making sure our farms are viable, because having those beautiful green hills are important, not just for us as locals, but for our visitors as well. So I'm trying to do that as chair of Destination Kiama and also as a local. Just recently, you might have heard that I'm trying to get our rock pools state heritage listed. We want to make sure that what we have that's special stays special. So if you have another harbour reactivation plan, we're not going to have those tensions that we just had recently in that regard. So they're just some of the examples that I'm trying to do in getting that balance just right.
Okay, good. Thanks, Matt. What are the two issues that you would address as a priority if you were to be re-elected?
Well, the two main issues that I focus on mostly when I'm in that council really is getting sustainable budgets, and that might sound a little bit boring, but sustainable budgets allow so many things to happen in the community, whether that be cultural activities, whether that be sporting activities, or a whole bunch of other things, as well as some of those other important issues, such as a kinder community. So they're my two main issues: sustainable budgets and a kinder community. In regards to sustainable budgets, we have huge budgetary pressures and issues that we need to resolve. We've got a big one with Blue Haven, and we've got a big site up near the leisure centre where the old nursing home is, a site that needs to be worked at and probably disposed of. As former housing minister, I've got a lot of experience in managing big issues like that. We're working to resolve an issue that I've been constantly on about, and that's the Acuna Street issue. That's been a big black hole for previous council meetings and previous councils. That's over $10 million that should be in council coffers, not just sitting there as a black hole. So council budgets are not as sustainable as they should be. We should be making sure we can use our council assets a lot better than we have been. And in the past, what council have done is they've been subdividing land, such as the Alhambra, selling off that land to keep our budgets in the black. Now, that Alhambra land has finished, and the pressure on our budgets now is huge, and that's not sustainable. And we need to work out a way to make that budget more sustainable. Now, in regards to kinder communities, we live in one of the best places in the world, and yet we see a lot of unhappy people here. Too many young people, for instance, are taking their own lives, and that is why I and a group of other people set up the Kiama District Stronger Community. We don't want to see young people taking their own lives. We don't want to see unhappy families. So we're trying to get the community stronger, making sure that all those volunteer organisations, whether they be cultural, sporting, surf clubs, whatever they may be, bridge clubs, are getting the support they need. And for any people out there who do need help, can get it here locally, and they don't need to go to Wollongong or elsewhere. They know that they can get that support here locally. So I'm really keen to try and make our communities stronger and healthier in that regard. And I think those two things, sustainable budgets and stronger community, are also very, very tightly linked.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Kiama residents would like to see better engagement and communication between council and the community. How would you improve the transparency of council's actions and engage the community more effectively?
I think this is a great question as well. I would actually like to see a lot more engagement with the community and council as well. I think groups such as the precinct group, activities such as we're doing now, where councillors or prospective candidates are asked questions, and that's available for people to see, is a great initiative. So I suppose more of this. But more importantly, what I'd like to see is less jargon, less acronyms, less reports and hoops and hurdles every time someone wants to have or engage in a council process. You don't have to go far to talk to any any resident or ratepayer in council and ask about their experience, and they just will tell you they found it quite difficult and somewhat overwhelming when they try to interact with council. And I think that sort of communication is one of the ways I'd like to try and break down those barriers. So instead of council coming back to a person and saying, oh, you need to fit into this strategy or that, or you need to jump through this hurdle or that, council needs to be a little bit more flexible and use everyday language so people can feel at ease and at one with their own council. I'd also like to see some of the reporting be a little easier to read. So basic things such as pie charts that make sense in regarding to our finances. So when you read expenditure and income, they actually match up because they haven't for years when our annual reports go out. Things like that, so people get a proper grasp as to what the councillors are facing and trying to manage, and that way we'll be able to get, I suppose, greater assistance and help from the community. There's lots of little things we can do, but I see myself in this equation on the side of the community. I'm sitting there in some of these meetings and listening to jargon and acronyms, which I find are, sometimes over the top, and I'm a part of that system. So for people who are just seeing it for the first time, I can understand that can be quite daunting at times. I'd like to really, really slash that down and make things a lot more in plain English, easy speak, and I think you'll find there'll be a lot more interaction between the community and council because of that.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Any other issues that you'd like to raise?
I'm really looking forward to this campaign and getting the community out there and engaged with all the candidates and the councillors, and hope they enjoy this campaign as much as the candidates.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.